I'm sorry, Matt, did you just take a swig of the hot sauce?
You could see I've eaten a lot of this hot sauce, but that was impactful. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special podcast experiment by Jump 450. This is the Hot Sauce Marketing Strategy Brainstorm, where we take a group of real-life marketers, have them taste test a homemade hot sauce, and then go about answering some questions, defining some elements to begin laying out a marketing strategy. It's all hypothetical. We're not really taking it to market. But one of our very own jumpers grew these hot peppers, made the sauce, put it in a bottle, and printed a beautiful little label there from AI. So we thought we would put this together. Let's say hello to our cast of characters. We've got our homegrown mad scientist and Google expert, Mike D. What's happening?
Hello, hello.
Everybody's favorite project manager, Jasper.
Hello.
We've got the director of motion graphics, Calvin. And a senior creative strategist. How you doing, Renee?
Hey there, let's eat some sauce.
Excellent. So let's just start off, Mike, with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit of the idea behind making the hot sauce?
Yeah, so basically at my building here, we have, there's a little gardening club, there's outdoor space on the roof, and there's a ton of different fruits and vegetables that we kind of grow year round. This year, I decided to get a little bit crazy with it because, New York, you typically don't really get the experience of being able to kind of like grow your own food or anything like that. So, usually you get your classic boring vegetables, things like eggplant, which we grow a ton of this year, but I hate eggplant. So I thought like for my own experimentation, I'll grow a few more unique things. I also grew some things like watermelon, which again, New York City watermelon, who does that? Nobody. So just a unique experience. And for some reason, I settled on Carolina Reapers as well. Just for fun, I'm like, let's see how well these grow. On the roof, it's always going to be hot. Peppers love the heat. Typically these things are grown in more like southern states. And even this year, they didn't grow up to like full giant sizes that I expected. I didn't get that many peppers per plant, but just wanted to challenge myself with that. And then, I had the peppers and I'm like, I need to do something with them. I'm not just going to eat them raw. I'm not crazy. So settled on a hot sauce and just kind of went for it. So found some guidelines on a recipe online, and then the rest is, the end product.
And I would say just kind of inspiring to see what you can do if you get a little idea and just say, I'm just going to go for this because I'm not crazy and going to eat the peppers on their own. You did a great job. And also look at this. I've eaten almost the entire bottle. It's delicious sauce.
I had an industrial size one for myself as well. It's just so I don't have to open this yet, but I got my industrial size one and this is running low as well.
Very nice. So without further ado, why don't we all just taste the hot sauce and we can do some reactions here. The only one not tasting with us today is Renee, who did not get the hot sauce to taste, but she's here for the creative brainstorm to follow. So
she's maybe the smart one, Matt. We don't quite know what we're getting ourselves into just yet.
Now, Mike, I have a question. Mine does not have the ingredient list that Matt does.
That was a later addition. That it's not a very fancy ingredient list. Plus, I was there to give it to you in person and tell you exactly what's in it. For the ones I shipped out, I added a label just in case. You never know, somebody's allergic to mango or pineapple. Those are relatively common allergies. I wanted to make sure they know what they're getting into.
This is what I wanted to hear from your mouth. Yes, it was hand delivered and explicitly described to me.
Exactly.
Let's take a bite and then we'll go around for some reactions. Here we go.
See, Calvin's a smart one dealing with food.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it is hotter when you just do it on the spoon. You could see I've eaten a lot of this hot sauce, but that was impactful.
I very much wanted to finish my burrito earlier today, but I thought it was a good move to have it ready for this.
Yeah, you really, I feel like, not to be too pretentious, but hot sauce can be a little much like kind of like describing like a wine or something. And
Yep.
if you want to compare it to like the brightness, you get that kick right away, and then just really smooths into the fruit flavor. And I have to say, as somebody who's tried a lot of hot sauces and has had to cut back on the extra spicy ones, while this does have a kick, it's really, really, really nice and smooth. And yes, not necessarily recommended to just eat straight out of the bottle, but
Right.
had it on fries. I've had it on eggs. I've had it on chicken, and man, oh man, it really lights up a meal.
I would second that, Jasper, where it's got a really decent kick to it. Like,
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart, but what I like is that it's not too extreme, but it lingers. So it's like you get that good kind of burn, like what I like about the having spicy food, and then it just sort of sticks with you. So like for me, especially when I have it with food, I get the sort of citrusy, fruity right up front, and then the heat comes on, and it just kind of stays there, and it's at such a perfect level, and it doesn't really dissipate quickly, which is a nice gives you that little reminder that you just ate something spicy.
I would just add that flavor-wise, because of the mango and the pineapple, really sweet on the front of the bite, also really fresh, can definitely taste that this is homemade. It doesn't feel like fermented or processed in any sort of bad way. It feels, definitely bright and hot, and it definitely lingers when you eat it off the spoon, but really fresh and sweet and fruity. It's just, Mike, you did a real bang up job with this stuff, especially for first time out. Very impressed.
And I definitely prefer the little more fruity flavored ones. I think like one of one that I preferred in the past was and I'm not sure how many people know it, Secret Aardvark. It might not be as well known as some of the big players, but that's one that I really liked in the past that I thought went really well with certain foods. And again, it has a little bit more of a tropical tinge versus just something a little bit more spicy. Again, the main goal is spicy for the sake of spicy is something like that's obviously that exists out there. But it's never worth just like making something spicy if it doesn't add a little bit of flavor. I think a little bit, sure, I know there's really those like really concentrated things like the bomb where you might add a little bit to like a chili and that little bit of heat adds up and it works well, but just like eating straight up like the bomb just doesn't make sense to me. I think it's they don't have as much flavor.
Yeah, those ones are like pair them with a tastier hot sauce, and then that gives it that kind of like extra kick. Notch.
I'm lit up right now from just eating it off the spoon like that. My nose is running a little bit. My tongue's activated. It's I love it. That's why we're here, I guess, right? We all love it.
I had another bite actually because I wanted to, try to once I sort of was like, okay, this is what the spice level is going to be. And one more thing, I just want to say, very rustic sauce. I love the chunks because you can really. Carrot, I have to say, is a really unsung ingredient in hot sauce. There's a brand, Mike, I'm sure you know it, and Calvin maybe as well, in New York, in Queens, called Queen's Majesty. They have a carrot ginger hot sauce that's just out of this world, and this really reminds me of that. Really bright flavors.
Excellent. So some connoisseurs on the panel today. Let's jump into some brainstorm, right? So just for a little context, marketing strategy is something that we find so many people are interested in. It is also surrounded by a lot of questions, right? What is a marketing strategy? How do I get one? Why do I need one? How does it differ from the tactics that I'm using? So really a marketing strategy is answering some basic questions about yourself to lay a framework to kind of like, I would say, place the tactics on top of. A marketing strategy is really in place to drive purposeful action, right? So a lot less sort of mystical than I think a lot of people are probably expecting, but a really sort of basic way to start finding a marketing strategy for yourself. If you have a product or something, or you're a brand and you just feel like you need a little bit more like cohesive of a plan or story, a strategy, if you will, to go through kind of what you're doing. You could start in a really basic way, the way that we are today. We're going to start by defining the 3 C's and the 4 P's. So the 3 C's are company, customer, and competition. And the 4 P's are product, price, promotion, and place. To do this, we've got a little bit of a list of questions to sort of, for the group to kind of answer here. And then we're going to do a little bit of a creative brainstorm as well in terms of if Mike was really to sort of tackle this, how would he do it? Where would he do it? What would the ads look like, etc. So just to start off, where do we feel like we fit? So this is Mike's Reaper Sauce, working title. Mike's Reaper Sauce, where do we fit in the competitive set?
I would say it's definitely, the small batch artisanal. It's not going to be going up against the big guys. Frank's Red Hot, for example, their slogan, we put that, and then there's a big splat on everything, meant to be like, this is for everyday use. This is not. This is a very intentional sauce. And I would say that, at least in New York, there's a big market for this kind of thing. So I would say that it goes in like a local area, but on the higher end of the spice level. There's very mild to, as we've been talking about, extremely spicy. So I would say it's a bit more niche because there's just one varietal at the moment.
Mike, where do you feel like it lands in terms of spice level compared to other sauces that are out there?
I say obviously depends on which sauce. There's ones that are, of course, spicier. I think this is probably in the higher end of like maybe a standard sauce where it's one that isn't built again just for the sake of being spicy. I think if you were to, of course, put it up against those guys, you're definitely just like barely competing. They use, straight up like capsicum extract. They have these, which looks horrid to like look at them, like pour it into vats. So I would say this is like on the higher end of spicy for like your standard sauce. Carolina Reapers were the spiciest pepper available for a while until, some of the new varieties, things like Pepper X. I'm not saying this can't get spicier either. When I look at it, this was, I think, 10 Reapers for a batch of, say, like 15 bottles plus a little bit of it in the jar. So you're averaging less than a pepper per jar. Could I have upped that? Yeah, I could probably go to a pepper or 2 peppers a jar, and at which point, you're getting a little bit more spice. But it's just trying to find that balance, of course.
Yeah, I think that my mom would be in the hospital if I gave this to her, and I'm eating it on eggs every morning. So it's a little bit of like where you're at, but I would say that if you're a hot sauce enthusiast, someone who likes a spice, this is a basic table sauce for you, really, right? And just to give us a little bit of context, competition, the biggest hot sauces out there, Frank's Red Hot Sauce, Cholula, and Tabasco. And then just to name a couple of the smaller, more specialized guys, we've got Mad Dog 357, number 9 Plutonium, the End Hot Sauce, Reaper Squeezins, and Blair's Ultra Death Sauce. What about price? Calvin, where would you price this bottle that you're holding?
I mean, I would say, especially if we're looking at something that's only in like my bodega in my building or like at a smaller offering.
What about direct to consumer online? That's kind of, I think, what we're thinking here, right? Well, how much would you pay for this on the internet?
I mean, I think I would pay $10, $15. Like, I'm not breaking the bank when I go out and buy hot sauce, and I'm pretty easy to please, but I think that that's something that I would be like, you know what, I haven't tried this before. Heard good things. I'd drop $15 on a bottle like this.
The average, I should say, artisanal hot sauce goes for between $8 and $12 a bottle. So I feel like we're kind of right in that zone with this. This feels like a quality bottle to me. Renee, let's pull you in here. I know you're the only one not tasting the sauce, but have so many superpowers in these areas that I really wanted you to be here. So the next one, just kind of going down the list here, is the market saturated? I think that we can all agree that the market is absolutely saturated here. I think just before the call, Jasper was saying that the lead singer of The Offspring has his own hot sauce line. There you go. What's it called, Jasper?
Gringo Bandito.
Gringo Bandito. Renee, maybe you want to chime in here, or anyone who's got an idea. Where will the customers find us?
Yeah, I think I can speak to that. I think definitely, as you said, as a D2C product, obviously, my first thought is Reddit, right? I think there's a big online hot sauce community. And I also think YouTube ads I would even do before I went Facebook, which I know is kind of rare, right? But you think about the amount of like First We Feast, different sort of hot sauce, YouTube Shorts programming. I think that could be, a bit more helpful in really defining that audience for sure.
The angle would definitely be to be one of the vaunted 10 on Hot Ones.
Yeah, certainly.
That's such a great point about YouTube. I was just doing a little bit of looking previous to the call. There are people out there. There's a really big TikToker called Elijah Extreme. He's got about 2 million followers on TikTok. He makes an artisanal hot sauce. It's the whole organic strategy of sort of, following his own journey. You can see him packaging orders to send out. I think he's got like 11,000 followers on YouTube as well. So he's across channels. I think that for something like this kind of artisanal hot sauce, small batches like we're talking about, that organic strategy seems really crucial to me.
I would also say that in New York, there's a hot sauce expo every year. and there's a lot of like characters there. And I think, Matt, to your point, that Mike's personality, that's what can be, you know, the differentiator. You know, you're not like Blair's ultra death sauce. You know,
Right.
you're not daring people to do this. You're a guy who is growing peppers on his roof in a place where you might not think you could even. And so, you know, really capitalizing on who you are and your differentiator, your UVPs, you know, maybe getting in on tag on with doing a collab with somebody online, and, you know, people who try, you know, very amateur TikTokers or something who just like to try hot sauces, send them a bottle, get it online.
Yeah, Mike, I want to see you on the roof with the plants. To me, something I was thinking about, like kind of an angle on this. All these hot sauces have like these crazy, you know, Blair's Mega Death Sauce with Liquid Rage and all these things. I was thinking like Mike's Dangerously Homemade Hot Sauce or something like that. Like, and it just looks like a messy pot on a home stove, where it's kind of like the dangerous part is not only are we playing with hot peppers, but we don't really know what we're doing.
Oh, you wish it's with the stove indoors. No, I did this outside with I have a I have a full mask. I had full on gloves. I was getting attacked by bees because they were trying to get all the pineapple. It was quite a situation.
That's a thumb stopper.
Counterpoint to that also is I do feel like it's very on brand for the industry, and especially hot sauces in general, to have that like danger aspect or heat or death or things like that. And I wonder if there's an opportunity for like an A/B test not in that arena, because I think that like in my mind, I think the sort of UGC sort of behind the scenes kind of the real deal is a real strong way to go. But also you kind of have to maybe do that more polished, like a sexy bottle product shoot with like black backgrounds and fire kind of coming in behind, which might not win out in paid social, and that to me feels very like typical. But I wonder if there's a way to play with the other side of it, where it's like, we've already got the people who are into the heat. You know, how do we draw in the people who are maybe a little like, if death is in the name, that sends them away.
And I think that's a really sort of interesting tie-in, talking about A/B testing and sort of the different ways that we can frame this. Going back to what we said earlier about where does this sit, you know, in the world of your Tabascos versus your, you know, masochistic hot sauces. It's such a unique story coming out of a New York rooftop. You know, how do we have that imagery of, you know, the skyline and the Empire State Building as a pepper? Something, you know, it doesn't have to be corny like that. But I think really honing in on the uniqueness of the experience is where you stand out amongst the more, let's call them indie hot sauces. And so potentially leaning into that and that very specific place story, I think could be a different angle to have, certainly.
There's a definite with that angle of the Statue of Liberty eats a hot pepper, and then Ghostbusters 2 style, the torch bursts into flame.
I'm sorry, Matt, did you just take a swig of the hot sauce?
Yeah, he did.
You know, I'm a ham and an attention hog, and we're on camera. It was going to be an Easter egg until you called me out. Guys, where are we delivering, I guess? So I'm thinking this is like super D2C strategy that we're talking about, I guess, at least nationwide. Anything to weigh in on that front?
The only thing I would say is just like flavor profile. It's not confined to a specific type of food. Like I could see this working well with barbecue, with sort of Latin Hispanic food, you know, just like Jasper said, add it to your eggs. You know, it's kind of food agnostic.
Yeah. And I think, too, when we were talking about sort of the price, how much somebody would be willing to pay, I wonder, too, for those more long haul, you know, it's more expensive to ship liquids to California from New York than New Jersey. You know, what is a product benefit that we can have to sort of offset that? Like, you know, obviously the multi-pack, but maybe it's, you know, this is the mango pineapple, this is the watermelon flavor, all different fruits you might not expect from New York. In terms of that outreach, you know, how do I make the cost of shipping worth it for those people who maybe are outside of the East Coast?
Absolutely. Guys, love the brainstorm here. Mike, how close are we to actually inspiring you to trying to take this to market?
You know, maybe. Well, right now I have like 4 peppers left. So I can't scale much more right now, and I think that would be obviously the biggest issue, especially going into you know, the winter months. Can't grow any more peppers, so I'm kind of on luck unless I ship, and then you lose the homegrown aspect. But I think you can only expect to grow so many peppers on a rooftop in New York every year. So I think that's our limiting factor right now. especially if you want to keep that homegrown aspect to it.
Just going on the brainstorm, if you were going to do this, so it's definitely seasonal, right? Because we're making this right off your New York rooftop. And so you're doing hot sauce drops, right? It's like a seasonal organic channel, rather an evergreen organic channel. The hot sauce itself is seasonal and everyone's just waiting for those drops to come.
That would also work pretty well in New York. There's kind of a well-established indie beer brewery, and a lot of them do small batch brews. I could see this being like, hey, we made 100 bottles and we start selling on Saturday, and as soon as we're sold out, then we're done.
Cool. Got to start with your local New York little markets and then kind of go from there.
I think there's an opportunity too in the off season for merchandise. I think about, this is not a one-to-one example, right? But Pickles bookstore in New York, right? Where it's a bookstore, but also they sell pickles and they sell so much pickle merchandising. I'm sure that they, turn more of that than books almost maybe. So I think, leaning into in those slower months, get the t-shirt with the Statue of Liberty pepper, things like that, to sort of offset when you're in those slower months as well.
Or happy accident, maybe you start pickling mangoes and pineapples or something in the off seasons.
Yeah.
It's artisanal. It's dangerously artisanal.
You can start fermented sauces at the end of the summer and let them ferment for a while to have that's next steps. I haven't even looked into fermentation yet, so that's a whole nother aspect.
There you go. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on a Friday for, like I say, this fun little podcast experiment. And if you are listening and you are interested in exploding your own digital growth, you can get in touch with Jump 450 in the link below in the description. That is www.jump450.com. And don't forget to subscribe for more weekly episodes. We'll see you next time.